Joining me now is Kenji Yoshino, professor of constitutional law at NYU Law School and author of the newly released Say the Right Thing, How to Talk About Identity, Diversity, and Justice. Professor, what a book to have released this week on the heels of the State of the Union and its responses yesterday. My question to you is, how do you even talk about diversity and inclusion and equity in a state like Florida where they literally don't want you to be having those conversations anywhere publicly?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me on. And, I'll begin by saying that we're actually not trying to talk directly to Governor DeSantis or the Sarah Huckabee Sanders of the world. Exactly. It's almost like, they're on one side of the room and, I, my co-author, on the other side of the room. And we're both talking to the people who are in the middle in the room, who are undecided, sort of people of goodwill, who want to get these issues right, but are terrified of getting canceled for saying the wrong thing.
Right.
And, say what you will about them, like the DeSantises and the Sarah Huckabee Sanderses of the world have a value proposition, which is come to our side. You can say whatever you want. The old status quo applies. And then if somebody's offended, that's their problem and they're crazy.
Right. We're taking the problem off your plate. We're the ones who are right. They're wrong. Don't worry about it anymore.
Exactly.
But you are proposing something that takes more work and is more nuanced. And how do you make that argument that it's worth having?
I think it's worth having first because it's the right thing to do. And that's sort of bedrock, that the people who are trying to stick up for these values are on the side of justice and inclusion and really the future, right? So those are all really good reasons. What worries us is the methodology that we're using, because I think too often we're too quick to cancel culture, to cancel people. So cancel culture has its place. If somebody does something egregious, that's just consequence culture, right? But I think what we're worried about is the person of goodwill who is so sort of frozen in fear about saying the wrong thing, as we all do from time to time, and hurting someone they care about or getting canceled themselves, such that they're actually much more kind of open and receptive to the DeSantis proposition.
Do you feel like that's is there a profile for that kind of person? Is it generational? Is it racial? Is it economic?
I think it is all of the above. I think there are people in all of those demographics. I think this is the bulk of the country. If you look at, so I'm like an Obama guy and just believing in the decency of Americans, right? So I have this unreconstructed view that America is a great country and that most people want to do the right thing. And what worries me a little bit about this cancel culture is that people of goodwill are actually not, being given a choice between something constructive and something destructive, right? It's really just fear-based in terms of cancel culture. So what the book tries to do is to really move people away from cancel culture towards what we call coaching culture and say, we're going to give you tools. We're going to teach you, right, how to build up your own resilience, how to have more curiosity, how to avoid really unforced errors for conversational traps, how to, apologize authentically and how to disagree respectfully, right?
Yeah, apologize. Baked in this is a certain amount of empathy for our fellow Americans. And I do believe in the goodness of this country. I believe that we are an empathic citizenry. But there is a subsection, and maybe Ron DeSantis is included in it, that gaslights the hell out of everyone. For Sarah Huckabee Sanders to say normal versus crazy, she's right. It is about normal versus crazy, only I would suggest to flip the tables, right? The rhetoric coming out of the right. What do you do about the gaslighting that is so central to the Republican playbook at this point? Do you just not engage with people who are gaslighting you? What do you do when people are like, I don't want this culture war, and then proceed to wage a culture war?
I really think you ignore them. And even when you have to talk to them, you have to realize that you're not really persuading them or talking to them. You're talking to the middle of the country that's listening in to the conversation you're having with them.
Right.
So again, we have to be really kind of rock-ribbed in our commitments, but also sort of understand that when we're talking to that middle of the room, the middle of the country that we're trying to persuade to come over to our side, every time we choose cancel culture over coaching culture, we're driving more people into the warm embrace of Ron DeSantis.
And that is a cautionary tale. Kenji Yoshino, author and professor of constitutional law at NYU, out with a great book that is so appropriate for these times. Thank you for joining me tonight. It's great to see you.
It's always a joy.